I think what's so special about Phil Freelon's work is in the final building model, you can really see the idea that he started with. The idea is always very clear, and it's something that people who aren't necessarily architects can understand. He works with a clear concept that's always very meaningful. He's able to translate that into a way that everyone can understand. But he also, at the same time, makes really beautiful spaces that are really kind of nuanced.
The title of the exhibition, Container Contained, means a little bit different things to each person that worked on the exhibition. For me, personally, it was a lot about not only the space he created, but the way that the community accepted that space.
I love his true dedication to Black people. He very purposefully only designed in places or in ways that were gonna uplift our community. He took his love for the Black community and put it into all his designs.
I first got involved with this project 2 years ago when Emily Makas emailed me about working on a gallery exhibition about the late Phil Freelon, who then had just passed away. When I first started working on this project, my task was essentially just to learn as much as I could about Phil Freelon and then use that as a guide to display his work.
We listened to interviews, we read articles that were about him. Of course, a lot of the information out there about him at the time was because he had recently passed. So it was just like, wow, like he really did all this work, and I was surprised to learn about him because I hadn't come across an African-American architect that had that much impact. I fell in love with his work and in his goals.
We wanted to use the exhibition to kind of embody what his work was about, using different colors and panels and patterns to really show what his work did, not only for the community of Charlotte, but the world.
Seeing the exhibition come to fruition, being in the space where it's like, hey, I drew that diagram on the computer, or I wrote this little blurb about this one project, it was really amazing, especially to see how many people came to also learn.
The exhibition is organized around 3 themes, which are ideas, roots, and skins. And those are really 3 ideas that we find in all of Freelon's work. The Gantt Center, which is a project that I worked pretty closely with, is really a pretty good example of those. You see things like the roots. The project is referencing the Brooklyn neighborhood in Charlotte, which was demolished during urban renewal policies. And that's a way that he can reference that history in the building through facade designs. He references the Myers Street School in the facade, which is really pretty meaningful to this region. You see things like ideas. He lifts the building up off of the street, which is a pretty powerful idea of uplift. And he's able to do that successfully at the Gantt Center. And then you see things like skins, which a lot of his work uses really careful facade treatments, including the Gantt Center has this really powerful pattern on the outside, which is referencing African textile designs.
I think one of his really impactful works that embody the Container Contained is the Smithsonian in Washington, because it has that really beautiful facade design, the pattern that I think when you look at the exhibition, that's where skins kind of really comes out. And it being on the National Mall, the Container Contained, I feel is really evident.
The models we worked on for this exhibition we called them process models. And the idea behind those was to show stages of the design or of the construction. So we tried to start by showing maybe the site constraints, the area where the building was, giving some kind of context, and then show some of the ideas as they got translated into the form. Snyder was a really great mentor for the project. We worked in a team of about 4 students, and I think what was so great is of having him as our leader is that he had kind of the expertise to really give us great feedback and guidance in making these models, but he also kind of let us make some decisions. The Saturday after the museum exhibition opened, we actually held a community workshop where we invited elementary school aged kids to come in and learn about the work, and we planned a few activities. And that was really an awesome event.
The best part for me was when we asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up, because most kids are gonna say like astronaut or like singer, but these kids were like, I wanna be construction workers or architects or just designers in general. And you know, it's very cool to see that you're inspiring people.
I have a lot of respect for Emily because she really understands her role in letting the rest of us architecture students, especially being African American, of learning about an African American architect that actually was impactful to a lot of people and to a lot of places. I don't think we had an example of that prior to Emily inviting me to work on this project.
Working on this project has been a great experience for me. It's been really better than anything I could have hoped to have been involved with as an undergraduate student.
Creating the gallery was really rewarding because people actually get to experience it, and you're working on something that's still designed but in a different way.
I will forever hold his work and this experience on the exhibition in hopefully my future practices with architect. I hope one day that when I get to the place where I can design buildings, hopefully that I will put the same level of thought, if not more, into the people that we're designing for, in this case, Black people.